Hey, it's Matt with Unbearable 73. So, this is basically my review of Shogun, it's episode by episode, the 2024 version. I may go back and revisit the old version later this year just because it's such an awesome thing. So let's talk about some stuff. Uh, James Cole wrote Shogun back in the 70s. It is a great novel. It is like Lord of the Rings or Dune or some other novels you might have heard of. It's very dense. There's a lot of material in there. Okay, so adapting it as less than a miniseries, you know, that for example, I was thinking of Shogun when I watched Dune Two Part Two. There is so much material that was left out of the Dune adaptation by Villeneuve and by David Lynch and by whoever did the TV show from Sci-Fi, because you can't do something as dense as Shogun or Dune or Lord of the Rings in a very effective adaptation if it's only like if you only have 6 hours maybe or less. You need this is going to be an 8 hour adaptation for Shogun, and I still think based on the changes they've made in the first episode alone, I still think that they're going to cut stuff out. Okay. Now that being said, okay, I waited this adaptation with trepidation. The original TV miniseries is literally it's one of the two or three greatest adaptations of all time. I've always said the best adaptation of all time is Salem, the TV miniseries for Salem's Lot, based on the Stephen King novel. This is very close. Okay, like this is just a notch below that in terms of the original one. I'm talking about the original Shogun. You know, and it was such an amazing experience watching it because it got me. Watching Shogun influenced me for the rest of my life. I was I don't know 6 or was I even 6 years old when it came out, 1981 or whatever I think it did, and um, it made me become very interested in Japan. And then of course read the book maybe for a couple of years later, and I've turned out I've read some other books by James Cole in what I later found was called the Asian Saga. There was another TV movie called Noble House based on a later book in the Asian Saga. The long and short of it is it started a deep dive in my life of interest in Japanese stuff. So I awaited this adaptation with trepidation. Now the first good sign that they were doing a good adaptation, okay, to me, was that the level of the cast that they got for this adaptation is in general equal to the level of the first adaptation. Now let's start be blunt about this. Okay, Richard Chamberlain plays John Blackthorne. There is no actor in this modern adaptation who has the level of charisma that Chamberlain did as Blackthorne, or that Toshio Mifune, if I'm getting his name correctly, had as Toranaga. Um, these are two of the greatest actors of their era at all time. So the casting for this miniseries is great, however. Now, the one complaint I will have about this is in my head, just like when Superman with Man of Steel came out, when Smallville aired, whatever, I still hear John Elliott Williams' theme for Superman every single time. It is so iconic. It is beyond the ability of anyone to ever make anything equal to it. Okay, and so I would say not even try, just reuse what works. And that is the one mistake they made to me is not using the original Shogun score. Now, why they did that is, I think, like Shogun was adapted as a historical action TV show with some political intrigue played up. This show seems like they're going more on the a little more subtle. Okay, maybe on the thriller. There'll be action scenes, of course, with the fighting and all that, but it's a war. But that might be the one reason why they went with a new score. Okay, I don't know. We'll find out. So that all being said, let's talk. So Shogun, I told you about the book, told you about the movie, and let's directly address the canon, the issues. The actor who plays John Blackthorne here, right? His name is Cosmo Jarvis, right? You know, he's done. I'm just going to grab his filmography. He said he was in he's been some stuff I've seen. He was a secondary character in Hunter Killer, which is a great thriller movie. Um, I like I said, he seems to have a decent reputation as an actor, but he's not Richard Chamberlain. Okay, Richard Chamberlain, for those of you who are younger who never experienced, he is an elite level actor, right? But he has incredible on screen charisma. He just knows how to project it. He's like John Wayne in a way. You know, he knows how to. He's tall. He's handsome. I guess you would say. He knows how to, use his aura of charisma productively. Not a lot of actors really know how to do that. So, and again, same thing with Mifune and Tornaga. The actor playing Tornaga this time is Hiroki Sanada, who you probably have seen in multiple things. He played Scorpion in Mortal Kombat, the most recent Mortal Kombat, which Scorpion Sub-Zero of the regions watched that. But in The Last Samurai, he played Ujio, who's the one who taught Tom Cruise's character how to fight. So that might be the thing you remember him the most. So he's been in some. He was in John Wick Chapter 4. You've seen him around, right? So and he had a lot to live up to with Mifune. But like I said, so far I don't want to whine about this for too long. It's been 6 minutes already. So what is Shogun about? Okay, Shogun is about the I believe it's called the Sengoku period, and there was a struggle for power when the current emperor died and his heir is like a child, a 5-year-old or whatever, and a council of regents of the 5 most powerful daimyo are appointed. And now, complicated things, the 2 of them are Christians, which really means Catholic, okay? Catholic daimyos, and 3 are not. And of the 3 who are not, Ishida and Tornaga. In the novel, it's Ishida and Tornaga. I think in the real world, it's 2 other guys, other names. But long story short, Ishida and Tornaga hate each other, and they're the most powerful of the daimyos. And Tornaga is the president of the Council of Regents, but Ishida has attained vast political power and deals in control over the four. So there's a lot of politics at play in Shogun, between all of them wanting to become the Shogun, at least until the child emperor grows up to become the emperor, which would make them the de facto emperor. I've included a link to what the Shogun was conceptually in my info below. I've included links about the original miniseries, the original novel, and the current miniseries, so you can all research that at will. Anyway, in the midst of this struggle, and the Catholics via the Portuguese have attained largely control over Asia and whatnot. They'll only have the path through the Straits of Magellan to get there safely to the Japans. John Blackthorne is a English navigator on a Dutch vessel, and he leads a crew of men, leads a fleet of 5 ships, with the captain general, of course, being the commander, and he's the pilot, through the Straits of Magellan with some stolen Spanish or Portuguese guidebook, so to speak. There's a name for it, and he gets them through, and then the captain general of the fleet makes a horrible decision which causes them to get stuck in a bunch of storms, which ultimately wreck 4 of the 5 ships, and then there's a whole bunch. Again, he basically crash lands with only 10 members of Erasmus's crew in Japan with 1 ship. Right, so and he gets tossed into this mess because he has a unique set of skills that Tornaga wants, that the Japanese want to exploit because they know they want to gain sea power. Okay? I'm grossly oversimplifying. It's an amazing story. It's 10 minutes. I want to talk about the episode. So they've already made some changes, and I'm not going to go and say, well, they changed this, they changed that. Again, they didn't do this to wreck it like they did with, say, other stuff like Ring of Prime, Wheel of Prime, and Avatar, right? This clearly appears to be a respectful adaptation. They touch on some of the same issues. Now, what I think they made the changes for is that I think, don't know, only watched 1 episode, that they're going to de-emphasize the the politics related to Protestantism versus Catholicism. They'll mention it, but I think they're going to downplay it and go with it being a European issue being brought to the Japans, and not the issues that the Japanese are confronting, as the Japanese were slow but never really converted to Christianity. Okay, so which the novel Shogun presents, and to an extent the original miniseries did cover it, a bit of it, right? So this first episode is called Anjin, which means pilot, and and obviously concerns the arrival of John Blackthorne in in Japan, obviously. Uh, he arrives in Omi's fief. Omi is the regional noble under the larger fief of Lord Obi. No, Lord Yabu. Excuse me. Trying to remember the place name. So it is Omi. Yeah. Any case, not that important. And Yabu arrives. Omi is a very smart guy, and Yabu is his uncle, and Omi is, given Yabu's proclivities, is more likely to be Yabu's heir than anyone else. Okay, so Omi realizes his pilot could be valuable. Realizes there's values on the ship with the cannons and the rudders and all the gold and silver. So he takes that into possession, and he's ready to give that to Yabu. Yabu wants to keep that stuff to himself, but Tornaga's spies, Tornaga has a vast network, find out about it. So he sends Hiromatsu, his right hand man, down to Omi's fief, so to speak, to take control of the pilot and the resources. And that's the political drama that kind of opens it up. Now, leading into that, here's a big change from the book and the original miniseries. Yabu is a very cruel hedonist. He enjoys suffering. He enjoys torturing people. He has very out there sexual tastes. And his plan was basically he was going to try these 10 guys, including Blackthorne, as pirates. There was a local Jesuit priest translating who was basically telling Yabu that these guys were evil and should be killed. Not that Yabu cared, because Yabu has contempt for Christianity, like a lot of the native Japanese Shinto followers. Not that he followed Shinto either. He just, and he in the novel, he's just going to execute them. And then he finds out. Then Hiromatsu finds out and saves Blackthorne and whatever. Here, Yabu is trying to play both sides between Ashita and Tornaga, and he plans to exploit the pilot directly from the beginning. Okay, and his resources. So that's a bit of a change. I think that's why I think one of the changes that I mentioned is going to cascade throughout this. And this is well done. So we get the sense that this Blackthorne and his crew have been captured. They don't know what's going on, which by the way would be true in the ancient world. If you washed up on a foreign shore, nowadays, they even if you didn't speak the language, they would try to help you with medicine or whatever. In most places, right? In the ancient times, you better hope the worst they did was just kill you. Okay, right? Because more likely they would enslave you, or more likely you would basically considered non-citizens, so that they would just do whatever they wanted to you, which amounts to pretty cruel things. And Japan had a lot of cruelty built into it. Yabu executes someone due to boiling in oil. In return, due to the offense of Blackthorne and given just because Yabu was cruel, not for another reason. So this all plays out pretty well. Here, Hiromatsu shows up. The actor who plays Hiromatsu here does a good job as the original. This is an establishing episode. The quality of the clothing and the scene, the background, the scenes are all awesome. The actor who plays Ashita, he's a good actor. I'm withholding judgment until I see if he plays Ashita angry well. That's the key to me for Ashita. Character controls his temper but gets angry occasionally, and you see it in the original actor's portrayal, for example. So I'll hold that. So let's just walk through this a little bit. So, what Blackthorn did here is he takes, like, I think they're called soundings, but in the modern term, he drops a heavy-weighted tube down. He's trying to find out if the land that's underneath the ship is lessening, if it's going more shallow, and looking to see if you can find sand that is not traditional deep sea sand, and that tells him they're nearing land. The captain general there commits suicide because he felt he hurt everyone. He let everyone near death. And this is, of course, the samurai finding Blackthorn's ship out there. Now, it's played off that Toranaga is a big fan of Hawking in the book and the original movies. They continue that here. They also establish that Toranaga has his sons and all that, so that's his son next to him. This is Toranaga arriving in Ishido Castle. I explained to you how basically Osaka Castle, Ishido got him in there. The plan is to have him, to trick him into making a mistake and getting the rest of the Regency Council order him to commit seppuku. That's the politics here, but Toranaga is counterplaying that. Again, political meeting. This is a well done political meeting. Toranaga's son acts up, and here he acts up. He's offended that Ishido challenged his father's honor, but you can't. In this particular setting, it's Toranaga's job to do that, and it disrespects Toranaga for you to act up to defend him like that, and so he has to basically condemn his own son to death, and his son offers to end his own line or do it. There's a whole scene where with the baby that he's gonna kill his own son, and it's a part of Japanese life. The Shogun depicted it accurately. I know some people were troubled by the scene by the depictions, but there's a reason. There's a reason our ancestors were savages, okay, and not just the Japanese ancestors were savages, our European ancestors were savages, our African ancestors they were all savages, and anyone who thinks that the one thing about Christianity and Islam that they have over any other religion and culture they replaced is they got rid of these savage-like behaviors of human sacrifice and honor suicides and all that. I know people are going to talk about honor burnings and whatever, but that's a prior cultural thing that even Islam is still trying to stamp out, okay? And I'm not defending Islam or Christianity. I'm just saying what they replaced, they were both far superior to, and in terms of the barbaric culture of all of our ancestors, okay? And that's the thing about the Shogun novel. It just shows you, and both the original miniseries, I'm presuming this one, so far it's doing well, it just shows you the culture that's there. It doesn't make any judgments about it. It just says this is the way it was, and you can form your own judgments. This is Blackthorn and his crew imprisoned in a prisoner pit, basically. And this is Lady Mariko, the other main character with Blackthorn and Toranaga. And she's interceding to try to get to decide. They basically come to take the baby so that they get executed, but she's trying to calm them down. So, and she's a Catholic, by the way. Now Yabu, this take on Yabu, I could see, is going to be the same but different. The actor, like Yabu, is a vile, disgusting, sadomasochistic hedonist. Okay, and he's all about for himself and advancing himself, right? So the novel portrays that rather wonderfully. The original show does a decent job, but doesn't show the scope of his ambitions as much as maybe this will change. And they portray his vileness slightly differently this in this opening hour versus the original one. The funny thing is, though, Yabu, for all his vileness, is someone who will do courageous acts, even if they're on his own self interest, which he does later. And he's very smart. Like, let's see if we advance to that point. So the Yabu, compare and contrast. We jump way up here to way up here to the Erasmus, not the Erasmus, the Japanese ship surviving. So this is the beginning of Blackthorn's good luck. Now, here's another character. This character of Rodriguez, originally played by John Rhys Davies. Okay, this guy another actor with great charisma, and they knew when they were casting Blackthorn and Rodriguez that they had big shoes to live up for. Okay, so the actors are doing a good job so far, right? And the biggest thing that got the first thing that got Blackthorn moving in positive direction was when in the original trial in front of Yabu, he grabbed the Jesuit's cross, stomped it into the dirt because as a Protestant, the cross is, at least back then, is the crucifix is less is considered satanic back then. The papacy was considered evil back then by the Protestants. Okay. So that was the first thing. When he did that told Yabu something was up, that there's more to the situation, he could exploit this pilot. Now he goes to Rodriguez, and he saves Rodriguez's life. On this ship, Rodriguez tries to kill him, which I don't think they show in this version. They get rid of that in this version. They did show it in the original adaptation. But he saves Rodriguez, and because of that, Rodriguez and he become friends due to having a life debt to each other. Rodriguez later saves him. I think it'll probably be in the third episode if I got my timing right. So they're on Tornaga's ship. Rodriguez is the pilot. There's a horrible storm. Blackthorn demonstrates his piloting skills and gets them through it. He gained the respect, starts gaining the respect of the Japanese. Well done, that's Hiromatsu there. He wants to rescue. Rodriguez washed over. Blackthorn saved his life by throwing him an oar, and now he wants to go and see if he can rescue him. Yabu realizes the value of the pilots, and this persuades Hiromatsu, who's a brilliant general, but less aware of strategic stuff, whereas Tornaga is, And Blackthorn right away exploits his burgeoning knowledge of Japanese culture. He knows that Yabu cannot lose face in front of his men. So Yabu won't let him go down to get Rodriguez because Anjin himself is too valuable a hostage of material to Blackthorn. So he exploits Yabu by daring Yabu to do it, because Blackthorn before Yabu died just for boiling his man to death. And Yabu, he says, even though this guy knows I have to do this because he challenged me to it, I have to accept the challenge. And then Blackthorn learns about Japanese culture when Yabu gets trapped down there. A nice scene where Yabu says, "I'm going to die on my own hands, I'm just drown." But they rescue him. And at the end, Blackthorn gains a burgeoning respect for Yabu, which you'll see here. And it starts a weird sort of pseudo-friendship where Blackthorn realizes that this man has a certain courage about him, and Yabu realizes he got in on Blackthorn, right? And in the novel, they have a weird relationship. They respect one another but hate each other, okay? And they're both willing to use the other to their advantage. And right now they're establishing that relationship here. I want to see how they take it. That could be critical to success, because Yabu is a complicated character who is pivotal to many things coming up. And of course, we begin to learn about Mariko's backstory a little bit. That she's Hiromatsu's stepdaughter and whatnot. That she could translate, and the Catholic bit. uh, and this is the complicated relationship between Rodriguez and Blackthorn, where Rodriguez finds Blackthorn's logs and shows that they were raiding Portuguese settlements and putting them to the torch. Which, remember, there was war going on in Europe between the Protestant and Catholic factions. Europe had a lot of war going on. To keep it simple, right? And so I'm not saying burning people's settlements is a good thing, but it was reality. And so Blackthorn doesn't want to get his how do we say it? He wants to take, he's going to kill Rodriguez to prevent the information being spread. Rodriguez, of course, has a gun to stop that. Again, these two form a complicated, weird friendship as the show evolves. And that's our first episode. So, all in all, an excellent start. We established Blackthorn, Rodriguez Blackthorn and Tornaga are your two main characters. A lot of people like to say that Miracle is a main character, and she is, but spoilers, she doesn't last all the way through. Okay, how else to put it? Long story short, it's a really good start. Just like the first hour or so, the original was a really good start. We'll have to see where it goes. I'll watch the second episode probably tomorrow. Get a review up by the weekend. And you have any questions for me? I would strongly people go read the original novel and go watch after this miniseries is over. Go watch the original miniseries. They're both great, and this is off to a great start. So I'll call this episode 8 out of 10 for sure. Maybe a 9 out of 10, 9.5. It's really good. Okay. My name is Matt. This is my number 73. Have a nice day. Like if you like, dislike if you dislike. Comment down below and share this out, please. Thank you.